In my high school, when I was a senior, they actually tried to take away Senior Ditch Day, which really ticked me off because I was a senior. I was looking forward to it. Then everybody decided to just walk out anyway. The principal then had as many staff as they could stand by the exits and hand out detentions to kids. Needless to say, it was an unpopular decision. But anyway, did your high school have an incident? What was it? Story 1. I need to preface this with two things. A. Drinking is legal in Germany from the age of 16. B. After elementary school, age 6 to 10, we have a 3-tier school system of main school, lowest school, real school, gymnasium, highest level, instant university access. And all 3 schools had separate buildings where I live, but were all basically next to each other. So it was customary at our school from about the 11th, gymnasium only, other 2 schools finish after 10th grade onwards, we have 13 grades, to join the end of school year camping where you go camping in a field next to the school and basically just get wasted and go to school hungover the next day. That year it was raining heavily, so we drank outside the real gymnasium, as in where PE takes place, because we stayed dry there. Gradually, people left as the night progressed. We left about 3 a.m., I believe, and went to school pretty hungover the next day, which was the last day of school. Well, at around 9:30 a.m., we hear the principal making an announcement via the speaker system, which went a bit like this. Dear pupils and staff, all festivities today are canceled because, and there is no other way to put it, somebody pooped on the door of the main school. All pupils who attended the camping last night are to report to the principal's office. After about 3 seconds of absolutely stunned silence, the whole school exploded with laughter. Too long didn't read? Someone took a dump in front of the school door before the last day of school. It's not exactly Martin Luther nailing the Reformation on the Wittenberg door, is it? Most kids just toss all their homework up in the air before they leave. Hopefully this wasn't part of an assignment. Also, getting drunk on school grounds. It's kind of like the mom that says, if you're going to get drunk, do it in the basement so I know you're safe. Story 2. In my sophomore year, some freshmen bought some stink bombs online from Japan so vile that they could be biological weapons. Just one of these things could make an entire gymnasium full of doe-eyed children turn into savage unalivers just to escape the stench. But that was not enough for this young boy's insatiable thirst for chaos. No, he broke 5 in one stairwell. What happened could only be described as a war crime. The use of toxins was outlawed in World War I for times like this. It was strong enough to crawl right up your nose and rip your sanity out through your nostril like the extraction of the brain of a mummy in ancient Egypt. The smell was so rancid that the administration thought every sewage line in the entire school had ruptured, causing them to shell out $10,000 in repairs for a problem that simply could not be fixed. Despite all this, school continued as usual, despite the fact that walking by the stairwell was like taking a deep inhale of the aroma of every communal outhouse in the slums of Mumbai. It was the best of times and the worst of times. The smell still haunts me to this day. Edit. Thanks for all the support and good comments on my writing style. To be honest, I was pretty drunk when I wrote this, but everything I said is true. The stench is burned into my senses forever. Edit part 2. So it's the story about the guy who tear-gassed the school with liquid poop that gets me gold. This must have been a really enclosed school. Schools that I went to would have probably had the doors open all day. Most of them just let outside. This was before a lot of the gun violence has been going on, so that probably has changed. But yeah, the school I was at would have probably aired out for about 2 or 3 days. Story 3. The music teacher had an infamous habit of putting on a video about Mozart or some other music bod, and then vanishing into his study for the remainder of the lesson. He would emerge smiling, slurring his words slightly, and smelling strongly of sherry by the 3rd lesson of the day. In an act subsequently recognized as sheer genius, one of my friends decided that this was exploitable. One day, he pocketed one of the videos and took it home. He fast-forwarded it about 5 minutes in, and then taped a corn on top of the rest. The next day, he took it back, replaced it, and told nobody. A week or two later, the school grapevine reported that the most informative music lesson in history had just taken place. We only found out about who did it when he was expelled a few days later for an unrelated incident. And he confessed to the corn tuition plan as well. This was at an English public school, by the way, equivalent to a top U.S. private school. Edit. That's not a slight on the American educational system, but a literal comparison. An English public school is a private school which has existed for hundreds of years and sends its head teacher to a certain conference of public school head teachers. Broadly speaking, there are exceptions to this general rule. Our equivalent of an American public school would be a state school, i.e. funded by the government. Edit 2. Clarified some English slang. Why did this guy confess to making the tape? I guess there was no other consequences. I mean, he was being expelled. What was the worst they could do? Might as well go out in a blaze of glory, I guess. Story 4. Believe I have a story that takes the cake. In the late 90s, we had a new student arrive at our private school in the Northern Virginia suburbs. This guy was flashy, drove a BMW, parked it in the principal's parking spot with the consent of the principal. He gave money to the students, just handing it out like it was candy. His attendance was dismal. He showed up when and where he liked. He dated a girl a couple grades below me. She was smitten. All the girls were. The reason for this weird behavior? He was the nephew of Steven Spielberg, and he got rock star treatment from the faculty to the student body for his famous uncle. He talked about all the celebrities he'd met, like Leonardo DiCaprio and one of the Spice Girls. He was a terrible student, but didn't seem to care much. I personally couldn't stand the guy, and I wasn't alone in this. After a year or so, the school started asking questions about Jonathan Taylor Spielberg. No tuition check had arrived, so the Diocese of Arlington started mailing DreamWorks asking questions. Turns out Steven Spielberg didn't have a nephew. This guy was a 28-year Iranian immigrant who invented this whole persona so he could go be a king amongst the high schoolers. He was charged by the police, and if I remember right, our principal had to resign. Story 5. A teacher headbutted a student. The teacher was one of the funniest, smartest, and nicest people I know. He often stayed behind after school finished to help people with their work. We had this jerk in my class who always answered teachers back and disrupted the class. Nobody liked him. One day, he decided to walk up to the teacher and fake squared up to him whilst laughing at the teacher with the knowledge that teachers couldn't do anything in return. The teacher kept his sarcastic, "Are you serious?" look that he always had when dealing with this jerkhole. Without changing his expression, Coolbean stepped back a bit and gave the peen socket a Zidane-style lunging headbutt straight to his chest, which made his back clatter against the floor. The jerk burst into tears, and the awesome teacher was like, "Oh, I didn't expect a tough guy like you to fall over and cry." The jerk reported the teacher, but nothing came of it because the jerk was a notorious drama king and nobody believed him. Plus, the students sided with the teacher. The jerk was suddenly an introvert after that incident. Story 6. The last day of 6th grade, a young lady walks into the boys' bathroom, goes into a stall, and gets down on her knees. She proceeds to blow anyone who put a peen in her face. She got 10 days of in-school suspension, like a full day of detention where you do your work in a cubicle and can't talk, have to eat PB&J and apple for lunch, etc. When school got back, and I don't know what happened to the guys. Edit. Also, the chorus teacher's daughter S-texted her boyfriend, and the pictures got out, and soon were on every phone in the building. Her mom called her a party girl, among many other things, to her face in front of a full classroom. Edit 2. The more I think about this, the more I remember. Chorus teacher's daughter got hooked up with her boyfriend by sucking his peen for 4 cigarettes. So while I don't condone this type of behavior, much less from a parent, her mom was technically right. Really, the messed up part is that it was terribly obvious that her daughter felt the need to do these things because her mother consistently made her feel awful and inadequate. It was a vicious cycle. I was nice to her, and I don't regret it at all now that I'm older, even if I did occasionally catch hell for it. High school is the worst social construct in the world. American high school, at least. Someone's going through some drama, and you have to worry about your own social status if you get some kind of sympathy for them. It's cruel. Was there any follow-up on this? What happened to her later in life? Story 7. One year, there was an incident between a pregnant girl and her boyfriend. Not sure of the details, but the boyfriend had a gun and was threatening the girlfriend in the parking lot with it. The vice principal approached to try and defuse the situation, but the guy shot his girlfriend in the stomach, then blew his brains out. Fortunately, the girlfriend and her baby both survived, but I'm sure the vice principal was scarred for life seeing that guy shoot himself. This was a vice principal I was never very fond of, but he put his life on the line to save that girl. Edit. Well, this blew up overnight. I feel kind of bad that this is my top-rated comment. Anyways, since you guys are asking so many questions, I decided to add a few more details. It turns out the girl was actually shot in the chest and arm, not the stomach, as I had previously stated. According to the Wikipedia article, Jessica Forsyth was shot by her boyfriend, David Turner, 4 times with a .44 caliber handgun, which belonged to Turner's mother. She and the baby both survived the shooting, apparently because Jessica had a metal plate in her chest due to a childhood accident. Story 8. This kid at my school was stuffed in the head. He would always creep out random chicks by following them around and generally being a clingy person. He never did work in class and ticked off a lot of teachers. He tried to unalive himself twice. The first I wasn't there, but he threatened a girl with scissors to go out with him, and then when she said no, tried to cut his neck with the scissors. He was then moved to my class. He said something along the lines of, "I know where I messed up in life, so I need to go into a coma using quinuntum." Yes, he said it like that, and changed the name past. The second time he tried to unalive himself, he tried to snap his own neck. He failed. At more than one time, I was scared I'd be put in a position where my health was at risk. He didn't belong in a school. He belonged in an institution. On a side note, if anyone reading this knows the story, don't link me to it. The school still has an issue with people talking about it. Story 9. I was a senior, and as part of our AP history class, the day after we all took the exam, we had a pizza party. I went to the payphone in the lobby and ordered 9 pizzas for our class of 20. An hour goes by. Class almost up, and the pizza hadn't arrived. Suddenly, I get called to the office over the intercom. They asked the teacher to come with me. Initial thought is they just thought someone should help me carry the pizzas. We arrive in the office, not to find 9 pizzas, but 99. Papa John screwed up bad. They asked me if this was some sort of senior prank, and I swore it wasn't. The principal vouched I was a good kid, so nothing came of it. That is, we took our 9 pizzas, the school got a discount, rare from Papa John's, at $4 a pie, resold them at lunch for $1 a slice or $5 a pie. Nice little fundraiser. Oh, I'm glad this one didn't escalate. Reputation matters. It was great that the principal stuck up for this kid. Plus, they actually thought outside the box and made a little money on the side from it. Definitely one of the incidents that ended up better than they expected. Story 10. In middle school, a kid brought one of his father's guns to school on a bet. I know he didn't intend to use it, but he did have a loaded mag. He was expelled and later rejoined in high school. I ran track with him and developed a friendship with him. Unfortunately, that incident always haunted him, and he was always the kid that brought a gun to school. Last time I saw him during college, he was very deep into substances, and I always wondered how different his life would have been if he didn't make a stupid mistake when he was a kid. I think about it from time to time and hope he got his stuff together and didn't end up in prison or worse. Edit. After I posted this, I was thinking about it all day, so I stalked him on Facebook, and he's a firefighter now. Made my day. Story 11. My PE teacher was caught having spicy time with the buxom young blonde math teacher during school hours. I think it was in the weight room. He was reprimanded, and she was transferred. This was the first incident. A few years later, after I had graduated, me and my group of friends ran into him at a bar. Less ran into him than he and a group of his friends jumping up and assaulting a friend of mine. Apparently, there had been a disagreement over one topic or another. So the gym teacher's logical solution was to ambush my one friend in the parking lot, stomping his head between the parking lot pavement and a car tire. They fled the scene right before the cops showed up. They caught him, though. Story 12. Although this isn't as big as other stories in this thread, I'll tell it anyways. At my school, we have 2 senior trips, one in the fall and one a few weeks before graduation. Well, on the second trip, the seniors were going to Hershey Park, Pennsylvania. 3 seniors thought it'd be a great idea to try acid for the first time, and one of them went absolutely mental and started attacking people and flipping out. The police had to come and arrest him. While being questioned, he ratted out his 2 buds. They all got expelled, and the school is banned from Hershey Park. All about 2 weeks before graduation. Too long didn't read? 3 kids took acid at an amusement park, went crazy, got arrested, and expelled a few weeks before graduation. Maybe a little incident, but it was still big enough to get the entire school banned from a park. It's too bad these 3 idiots ruined it for everybody else. Getting expelled doesn't seem so harsh then. I wonder what kind of punishments their parents dished out because of this. Story 13. I attended a rural high school, so there was nothing but incidents. This includes half the girls in my senior class getting pregnant. The school's reaction was to set up trailers out back of the school, segregate the pregnant chicks, and intersperse academics with baby care classes. My history teacher ran off with one of her students. My English teacher was a total lech and had affairs with multiple students. In my senior year, several juniors died in a car wreck. I had a Latin teacher that was mentally ill. He used to throw things at students, including desks. And then there was the usual stuff, like our football team, state being able to do whatever the hell they wanted. It's a miracle I escaped with minor trauma. Story 14. The school district had some sort of shift in power, and the new superintendent put a bunch of her incompetent friends in important jobs, including ones to evaluate teachers. Immediately, several of the best teachers at my school were put on probation, and it got announced that the principal, who everyone loved, was going to be replaced. There was a community outcry, and the entire school protested, including a petition signed by the entire staff and the PTA, a Facebook group dedicated to keeping him around, some merchandise supporting him, and several organized protests in front of the school board. Eventually, the superintendent caved in, and he got to stay as principal. Story 15. There was a total chucklehead in my woodwork class. One day, a few of us were out in the shed, lacquering whatever item we'd made. This one genius thought it would be hilarious to light the highly flammable jar of lacquer. So up it goes, and he realizes immediately that he's made a huge mistake. So starts trying to blow it out, to no avail. So what does he do? Lashes it off the ground to put it out. Glass shatters and the floor lights up as the lacquer spreads. There was a load of gas canisters in there. Alarm went and we all legged it. In flies the teacher, superhero-like wielding a fire extinguisher. Kid got expelled, but got back in on appeal.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 16. A girl at my school gave 9 different guys oral spicy time at one party. The class clown / jerkwad carved a 9 on her locker. The whole thing blew up and the administration ended up finding out, and they had an all-teacher meeting to discuss it. Hella awkward for that girl. Edit. To clarify, they had the meeting because she was being bullied. She was not present for the teacher meeting. The class clown was suspended, and for those of you asking where this happened, it was in New England. Second edit. No, it didn't happen at Melton Academy. Story 17. In my sophomore year, A few friends and I were almost arrested. We had recently taken an interest in modding games and were going to mod Counter-Strike. Our school was symmetrical, 4 floors and decently sized, so we thought it would be fun to make a map of it. I had drawings of each floor in my bag with bomb locations marked on it. Of course, one day it slipped out of my bag and a teacher found it and called the police. Only reason I didn't get arrested is because I also happened to have spawn points marked. And the cop was a gamer. Too long didn't read? Almost arrested because Counter-Strike. Oh, he lucked out. Definitely a good thing for the cop to be a gamer in that point. I think it's good that more and more cops are familiar with games as far as this is concerned. I'm pretty sure they have to deal with a lot of swatting incidents in various places. Being a gamer, I'm sure they can understand that part of the very twisted gamer culture. Story 18. A vice principal in my junior high apparently was a big-time Peruvian marching powder dealer. The cops were building a case on him for years and finally got enough evidence on him during my first year in the school. Needless to say, many of the students were upset when their dealer got put behind bars. Different school, your classic story of male student-female teacher relations. They were going at it for a while, and it was working until the 16-year-old student's ex-girlfriend found the teacher and student out together at a pizzeria. Story 19. In my high school, there was a tradition of a 10-day school trip for the graduating class. 5th year, students aged 18 and 19. My class went to Greece. During the trip, a young math teacher made out with a student while we were clubbing in Athens. The student won a bet with his friends, and several other teachers witnessed the hookup. We went clubbing with the teachers. My country is very relaxed. Of course, thanks to cell phones, all the students back home knew immediately about the incident, and on her first day back, the teacher was greeted with cheers and applause by the whole school. She was later transferred. Story 20. Worst incident was a girl who committed self-termination via the trains that ran behind the building. The funniest incident happened my senior year. Girl comes into our cafe wearing high heels and a white dress, carrying a water bottle full of alcohol. She was walking and tripped. I think one of her heels broke, and her bottle spilled all over her. A couple of the hall monitors come to take her to the main office, and the next thing I know, she's running down the hall barefoot towards the sports fields just as the school cop showed up. She made it a good halfway across the field before he grabbed her. Story 21. One of my friends had an asthma attack during sport and perished. Group of teenagers, about 15 years old, get caught having spicy time on cam. At a friend's school, one of the science teachers did the sodium in a bin of water trick, but used potassium instead and proceeded to blow a hole in the ground. The school up the road from us, Farrell Public School, had kids getting stabbed with pens, and someone set themselves on fire. Idiot was playing with a petrol can and lit it on fire whilst holding it. Did this all happen in this person's time in school? What is going on in this part of the world? Either this guy's really observant, or this district is very unlucky when it comes to incidents. I wonder if he has any more stories. Story 22. 2 of our high school teachers were having an affair. No indication as to how long, except one of the teachers had been rumored to stray from their marriage. Anyways, the story goes that they had both made a pact to leave their significant others and meet up at the Friday night football game. Well, one attended the game alone, without the significant other, whilst the other came hand in hand with their significant other. At the same time this was happening, the significant other, who was not at the game, was at home shooting themselves in the head. This high school had around 400 to 450 students and was in a town of about 3,000 people. Story 23. 5 students expelled in one afternoon for various substance-related things. As I heard it, they were selling and distributing through their lockers and school emails. One quietly returned the year after because she was a very good musician and they needed her in the school orchestra. Edit. For those saying that they're eligible to return to the school, that didn't actually apply. Firstly, it's a non-US school, so different rules. And secondly, It was a private school that was selective entry. Story 24. 15 students sneaking out of a window during class, filming it, and returning through the door in groups claiming they went to the bathroom. The elderly teacher didn't notice because the other 15 students were tasked with asking questions to distract her. They posted the video on YouTube, and it was an instant hit. Made national news and all. Story 28. Yeah, so I'm from Poland, and my school had some kind of renovation. There were plenty of workers digging and doing the usual stuff at the courtyard. One day, a janitor ran up to my class and told us to get the hell out of there. As it turned out later on, workers found a hand grenade, probably from World War II. Sappers and military were called, and they managed to defuse it, but it was a funny experience. Story 26. We had a teacher allegedly have spicy time with one of the 17-year-old set of twins, who were pretty hot at the school. We also had a teacher marry one of his former students, who then became a teacher at the same school. The latter teacher was also rumored to have had spicy time with multiple students who were of age before he married the one, though nothing ever came of it. Story 27. Our high school had a carnival day that went on once a year. Heard from one of the teachers that one year someone cocked up royally, and rather than order an adult-sized jumping castle, ordered an adult jumping castle, which is a jumping castle covered with inflated peens and breasts and what have you. Story 28. My high school had a police raid on all the computers. 3 teachers were charged with the possession of child porn, and 1 was charged with perv pics taken of unknowing female students. 2 months later, my teacher was caught dropping pencils and looking up girls' skirts and smelling guys' legs. Story 29. There was this really hot English teacher at my high school. So many guys flirted with her in class and on the playground, obviously knowing that it was all a bit of fun. Until it came out that she was in a relationship with a student, a female student. Every guy was pretty crushed when that came to light. Story 30. Years after I graduated, a teacher had an affair with a student. He was engaged to another teacher at the time. He's in big trouble now. Another teacher once played hardcore lesbian corn in front of the class on accident. I guess he had recorded it over an educational video. Who records corn anymore? Story 31. My year group became infamous as the Year 9 class with that girl that gave one of the boys an oral spicy time at the top of the art block, recorded it, and got it sent round the entire school for about 5 or 6 years even after she left. Funnily enough, the school went pretty far downhill after that. Story 32. Back at the start of the 2000s, caffeine pills were super popular at my high school. A kid brought in dozens of them. Dozens of kids took them. Dozens of kids got sent to the dean's and nurse's office because the caffeine pills were actually Viagra that one kid stole from his dad. Story 33. Aside from our newsworthy substance problem, students going on to become corn stars, and multiple student/teacher relationships. We once had a teacher who would strip down to her underwear and sunbathe at lunch. Edit. She was fired shortly after. Story 34. We had the Phantom Dumper at my high school in Florida. During lunch, or sometime near it if I recall correctly, someone would take a wad of their own Duke and graffiti a wall or stall with it. Desmond, if you read this, I know it was you. Story 35. When I was a freshman, some seniors decided to be idiots and avoid finals by putting bombs in a locker. Whole school was on lockdown and finals went on as planned. And they never got jail time or even probation. Story 36. Older teacher would let the girls' volleyball team change in his closet before practice and after school. He had a camera in there, of course. It started as a rumor and ended with one of the dads showing up to class and cleaning his clock. Story 37. High school drama teacher who was very well loved jumped off a bridge. It soon came to light that he'd been caught having spicy time with a young student by that student's parents, and unalived himself the same night. Story 38. Seniors on the basketball team snuck their fingers up their freshmen buttholes as hazing, got caught and arrested, and our school got mega shamed by everyone else in the tri-state area. Story 39. Had a kid lose his mind and ran around stabbing other kids with a hypodermic needle. Stabbed like 20 kids before someone stopped him. Story 40. We had a gym teacher, affectionately referred to as TC. He was teaching a health class, sat on a table, and his peen rolled out of his gym shorts. Story 41. After reading some other posts, nothing happened. Someone once took a dump in someone's school bag, and that was the big story for years. Story 42. Our gym teacher committed self-termination by hanging himself, if I recall, in the school's gym. The gym was later named after him. Story 43. When I was at school? Let's try that again. When I was at school, a female trainee PE teacher perished of a sudden heart attack while she was teaching volleyball. Story 44. One of our vice principals burned down his own house on purpose. They even had a donation drive for him. Story 45. A student brought his peen out and delicately put it on the shoulder of a female student during an exam. Story 46. Multiple kids were stabbed and one was unalived last year one morning in my high school cafeteria. Story 47. Some girls tortured another girl, pimped her out, and bought candy and cigarettes for the money. Story 48. There were girls at my school who gave oral spicy time to guys at the back of the Oval for $5. Story 49. There was a gun found in our lost and found, and apparently no one knows how it got there. Story 50. A girl was stabbed 18 times by her crazy ex-boyfriend right in front of a full classroom. Story 51. I was stabbed in my art class. That was one hell of a day. I guess I was the event. Story 52. Yes, 14 kids unalived themselves over the span of 2 years. Story 53. My school had an old man teacher. Many kids violated.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.